Hello everyone, good afternoon. In this video we are going to talk about partial class. Okay, so what is partial class then? So when we are about partial class, the partial class is the class which is not fully functional class. So what is the use of the partial class then? So partial class allows us to split a class into two or more files, and all these parts are then combined into a single class when the application is compiled. We'll use partial keyword to split class, struct, and interface over two or more files. So with the help of this partial class, we can do that multiple developers can work in the same class easily. So, and another one of the most important part of partial class is that code generator. Code generator use partial class mostly. So code generator partial class are mainly used by code generator to keep different constants separate. So it also allows us to focus on separation of concern. Using partial class, we can also define partial method as well, where all developers can simply define the methods and other developer can implement that. So partial class can simplify certain .NET programming situation, C# programming situation, and they are often used in Visual Studio when creating Windows Form WPF programs. So let's move towards our Visual Studio. Okay, in this video, in this program, in this namespace, okay, in the namespace we are going to create one class. Okay, so public class student, and we are going to give id of student, name of student, address of student, and finally faculty of student. So all these members of class are private by default. So if if we have a situation to access all these members outside the class, we can't consume these members because they all are private by default. So what can we do? For that we have properties. So what properties do? It allows us to get or set value, and we can use that value outside the class. So simply what we can do is go here, quick actions and refactoring, click here, and what we can see is here encapsulate field use property. Okay, same procedure to next one. And same procedure to this one also. Encapsulate field and same use property. Okay, so what we can do is we can change its name. We can change to this id, name, address, and faculty. Okay, we got raise quick in that faculty because I have placed their class instead of this. Okay, all good. Now we are going to set the value and simply can return value of student by using property. Okay, in our main function we are going to create instance of student s1 equals to new student. Okay, we create instance of the student by using new keyword. Now, since all these are defined with the help of property, now we can assign and modify value. So id, okay, we can give 101 as 1 dot name equals to John, as 1 dot faculty, no, address California, and as 1 dot faculty. Okay, I'm giving faculty BCA. Okay, so what BCA means is Bachelor in Computer Application. Okay, now if we want to print this, what we can do is console.writeLine student details is, and we are going to place here placeholder 0. We have like two fields, we are none of two, we are at 4 fields, so I'm going to extend placeholder up to 4, and then the starting point is 0. We only have up to 3 number here, and now we are going to what here place s1 dot id, s1 dot name, and s2 dot s1 dot address, and finally s1 dot faculty. Okay, if I run this, we're going to get our output. So all good. The student details is 101 John, California, and BCA. Now our aim is to use this. Our aim is to split this fully implemented class into partial class. Okay, so for this we are going to create two class here. So I'll name the first class as partial student 1, and I'm going to add another class here. I will name it as partial student 2. Okay, now I'm going to change this to public because by default the access modifier of our class is internal. So okay, and I'm going to change this to partial student and save it, and I'm also going to name it partial student. Remember that I'm changing this to class name as partial. So and as soon as I do that, I get the rates quickly. So to overcome that, if we are working on partial class, we have to use partial keyword here, and in student partial student 2 also I'm going to place partial student here. Okay, now what we have to remember is this one important. Okay, so the name of this class is partial class and partial student, sorry, and the name of the partial class, partial student 2 also partial student. So the name of the class in this one and this one must be same, otherwise we will get error. Okay, now let's flip to our program.js. Now what I am going to do is I am going to create one function here. Okay, so public string. Okay, string. Okay, student details. Student details, and I'm going to give it student detail, and I'm using string interpolation. Okay, so the student details is, and we can assign here id and name and what, student name and address, address and faculty. Okay, now I'm going to copy this one here. Okay, so I'm going to copy this one to here, and I can write this as one dot here, and I can write the s1 dot name also here, and s1 dot address, so this, and s dot faculty. Okay, why is this giving us error? adt ress adt. Okay, here is error. Address, I give this address here, adt ress and adt ress, adt ress. Okay, now this will do the work, and I'm going to comment this code here, and I'm going to return here, return student detail. Okay, now I can call that function, I can call that function method here by writing student and s1 dot get student details. Okay, I'm going to place this method to inside this class. Okay, now this is inside the student class, so I have to make student get s1 dot student get details now, and I can print that also by using the student details is. Now simply I need to do what, write method name here. Okay, so s1 dot get student details. Okay, now let's see how it will be our output. Okay, now same output. Now our aim is to split this, our aim is to split these two things into two different classes. Okay, so I'm going to get this to partial student class 1. Okay, so I'm going to include this inside this class, and I'm going to place this to here. Okay, now what are we doing is this is the fully functional class, okay, and we are splitting the method, the functionality of this property and method, and we are assigning that two different value to this class and partial student to class. Okay, now instead of using the instance of the partial, instead of using this instance of the student class, we are going to use, I'm going to comment this code over here, and I'm going to create an instance of partial student pd equals to new partial student. Okay, now I'm going to get student details, and I'm going to copy this. No, I'm going to, I know I have to write this code here, and I'm going to comment this code, and I'm going to get here partial video. Okay, now okay, I'll first uncomment this code and again comment this one. Okay, I'm getting error here. Okay, so control Z, control C, comment, and I'm also going to comment this one. Okay, now nothing's gonna come from our fully functional class. All functionality is from partial class. Okay, so okay, once again I will tell what are we doing. So first we have a fully functional class, and in this fully functional class we have defined our property here, and we have defined our method here, and we created an instance of this class which is not partial, non-partial class, and we call this get student details. Now what are we doing is we split the functionality into two parts. Okay, so first we implement this one into partial student one class, and this into this class. Okay, uh, partial student and partial student. This is getting error definition for id. Okay, here's the problem. I'm going to use this partial. Okay, so now I get this the partial. Okay, now let's run our code. Okay, we have no error. So this is partial class. This is the example of partial class. Okay, we split the functionality of fully functional class into two class, and we name the same class as partial student here also, and here also we created the class with the same name, partial class, and we added the keyword partial. So what this partial keyword is saying is that this method is, this class is partial class. So by this we can use partial class, and different developers can work in this individual class differently. So if the developer wants to add methods in our partial class, he or she can add the methods in this class, and if another development want to add property inside this class, she can do the same in this class also. So we are splitting these two class. First we created whole fully functional class, and then we split these two class and we print the output. Okay, so suppose we have a large class file which might have 1,000 lines of code. We never know your class might end up with 1,000 lines, or you don't want to create a new class with a different name. So by this, for with the help of this partial class, we can easily write logic separately, and that won't be our problem. So hope you guys understand about this partial class. Thank you.